Welcome back to Profiting from Your Passion Podcast. Wow, I can't say that real well, can I? Profiting from Your Passion Podcast. Today I'm extremely excited about my guest. This guy, I knew him. We were in grade school together. We went to religion class together. And he doesn't know this because I've never told him this. But on those, I think it was Tuesday nights in about fourth or fifth grade, I look forward to religion class for the first time because John Corey was going to be there and he was going to be cracking jokes. I can't see either one of us was too focused on the subject matter the whole time, but there definitely were some fun times, and John and I, we went our different ways in life, and not too long ago, we ran into each other, and immediately it was obvious that John had a joy for life, and he's got such a big servant's heart that I wanted to get him here to talk about that, to talk about, where he's been and what of his passions profit him in ways above and beyond money and what those things are. So, John, welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit just about who you are?
All right. Like David said, I'm completely humbled that you asked me to be here to begin with. It just, takes my breath away. And like David said, we grew up together, grew up in the neighborhood, went to church together, and went our separate ways. I never left Lafayette. Went to school, went to college here, went to college in Baton Rouge as well. Came back here, started a business with my dad, got married. I was never in a race to get married. I always thought I would wait and find the perfect person. Went along that path and thought I had the perfect person. Started a family, and just life, life just really went fast.
Yeah.
2 kids, 15 months apart, son and a daughter. Kind of steered away from my faith through that journey, got so busy, and look back and some of the pieces of my life start to come together as we get older. We kind of sit back and see how things, and at the time we had no idea how they connected, but we see.
It's funny. I see the definition of wisdom. Well, the definition never really changed, but our personal definition of it changes from when we're 22, 23. You don't have to be old to be wise. I'm wise.
Right. We think,
you think. And then you have the experience, which is really in the definition of wisdom.
Right. And, so I lost my dad 25 years ago. My dad was my best friend, my business partner. We spoke every day, twice a day. I'd call him in the morning because he was up before me. He'd call me at night because he was going to bed before me. And then we worked together all day. So I think at that time, I don't know that I got mad at God, but I was disappointed. And I thought he had turned his back on me, because I lost my best friend, the guy that was the center of my world. So I just didn't realize it then, but I kind of stayed away from my faith. My character stayed the same, and the way I lived stayed the same, but my faith wasn't active. And through life, you find God on your knees, and several things in my life brought me to my knees, certainly later. But then I came back, from my faith again, and I think my excitement about life, I've always been optimistic. I've always seen, even in the darkest times, I tried to find I'm the glasses half full guy. So, it's full circle now. My conversion was several years ago, and now I can't do enough. I know God doesn't expect me to pay him back, but I feel, I've always wanted to pay my way, and what he's given me, I can't do enough to give back, so it.
So John, I'm curious, you mentioned your dad a minute ago and how close y'all were, and I lost my father a little over a year ago, and we weren't as close through most of my adulthood, you know, which, I guess if you look back, really hadn't been as long as, as old as I am. I should have had more adulthood in me, but and so very different relationship. There's still things I got from my dad that I see today were part of those lessons. And, I mentioned that I see you as a guy with a big servant's heart. And did some of that come from your dad? Was he an example of that for you?
Absolutely. My dad, an amazing guy, really well liked and well respected. As a kid, I remember probably 6 to 7 years old, we would go to St. Mary's Orphanage, which was here in Lafayette, run by the diocese, right next to the old Lourdes. And I would say at least once a month we'd have a picnic, and it was run by nuns. And at any given time, I seem to remember, anywhere from 15 to 30 kids there, for all ages, from little children, I don't remember babies, but up to teenagers. And we gave, we wanted to make sure they felt love, and we would do toy drives and different things. And my dad always liked to help people. So there's no doubt it was inherent. And just the feeling that I would get with my dad and my mom, of course, it was just such a good feeling to make people feel loved, and so it started, and I never realized it then, but that's where it started. And then I got involved with service through faith, and some of it wasn't even through the Catholic Church. 8 Days of Hope I did. It was a big deal after the 2016 flood. It was 2,500, mostly Protestants, that came to Lafayette, and we worked on 150 houses. And I found my niche there as far as what they needed. I didn't know what they needed. I signed up for hanging drywall because I knew how to do that, and I ended up being over all the solid waste,
Right.
because in my business I permit landfills. That's part of what I do, and I ended up doing 14 Days of Hope. So I worked for 2 weeks, and just it was.
But what was the pay for that? And I don't mean financially. I mean
My
personally.
heart. I didn't even see many people. I was working with some, but some of the homeowners, just when you flood and all of their stuff is at the road, sheetrock, clothes, furniture, and I didn't realize it, just to get their house in the front looking normal meant the world to them. It's like, wow. So I just, I prayed with a number of the homes. Some of the homes were not habitable, but just letting somebody feel loved, even from something as simple as taking out the trash,
Right.
picking up their waste. It helped them feel a little more normal. And to see what people would do, these 2,500 people sleeping on cots in the Cajun Dome to come and serve. We started with prayer, we ended with prayer. So it was just awesome. It really was awesome. And that led me to other opportunities. And I do a lot of service with Catholic Charities and handicap ramps, flood restoration. The handicap ramps are something that just blow my mind. It's really, really hard work.
So one of these, of all these people you've helped, right, and kind of putting you on the spot here, but can you think of someone in seeing the reaction and seeing what it meant to them? Alec, can you kind of explain what that felt like for you and for them in a way?
I have a number of visuals from that, and one of the things that I think is so amazing, and I tell my friends that are involved in it, is that week we're working there, that 4 days we're working there, we get to know the homeowner, and at the end of the week they know our name, they know a little bit of our lives, and a week later they probably remember our name. A month later they may remember our face. But a year later, they have no idea who we were, but they'll never forget what we did. And that part of it, to me, is the greatest reward that I could ever dream of, because I don't want them to remember me. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about what we did. And one lady,
I have a hard time thinking they forget you, but
I don't know. I hope they
I
do.
appreciate your humility.
Well, but no, I sincerely
I
hope
know.
they forget me, because it's not about me or anybody else that was there with me.
Right.
We weren't there for the pat on the back.
Sure.
That's not what
Sure.
it's about, And one lady, I was leading a life team group. They were from the Woodlands, very influential parents and the kids, but they were out there, about 12 of us. We had a father, a dad, and we had a priest that grew up in the school that they were from. And we helped Miss Sadie in Crowley. And we did we made her a handicap ramp for a mobile home. She had not been off of her porch in over a year because she couldn't get down the stairs. And her son would bring her groceries. Eucharistic minister would bring her communion each week. And she came out, when we were done, she came out, and because we always like to take a picture with the client, and she started crying. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
We gave her life. She got to go to church that weekend. She got to go to the grocery store. It was rewarding. And this was probably 5 years ago. And I feel like it was yesterday, Yeah. So I brought my kids back, and we picked up some of the waste and took it away for her. And we sat in the house and talked to her. And, I'll never forget Miss Sadie Abear. But like I say, I hope she's well. And there's so many stories like that.
No, that's beautiful, though. Thank you.
It's really, I tell people, the sweat and sometimes the blood and the time is an investment, but the return on that investment is, I would say, at least 1,000 to 1. So if you tell people, hey, if you invest $100, I can turn that into 100,000, they would be flipping over themselves to jump in.
Right.
The rewards that we get that I think are, investments mainly are pieces of paper. You get a statement each month, and you can't really feel it, and even when you take it out, it's really short term, feeling.
I saw a Jim Carrey quote the other day, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I'll get it wrong to the exact terms, but it was basically, he said, I wish everyone could achieve the fame and fortune that they desire, to find out that that's not what it's all about.
Yeah.
It doesn't, that's not the answer, right?
All.
And look, I'm all for people being financially responsible and doing the thing, right? But in the end, there's so much more to this existence than just the roof over your head.
Oh, no question. So services have grown, and I've literally seen the Holy Spirit on our projects. There's been a number of times that it was inexplicable what happened.
Right.
If you think of things in a natural way.
Right.
If you are at least open-minded enough to understand there's a supernatural, it's so clear. And there's things that it's like, I can't wait till the next project, because maybe I'll be lucky enough to see him again, and to witness, because, man, I've witnessed some things that there is no way to explain it in the natural way.
One of the things in my personal calling, I believe, is to help others become actively open to the Holy Spirit, because that's the only time I've ever recognized his presence, is when I'm actively participating, loving one another, that simple thing. I had the opportunity, my house flooded in 2016, and it was when guys at the church called and said they're getting the team together. I'm like, no, go help somebody who needs it. Meanwhile, I'm busy working on other people's homes, because that's what we do. They're calling us, right? And not getting much time to clean mine out. And I have an apartment in the back for my mother, and we got to get that for her. And they come, regardless of my desire, right? And then later on, one of my buddies was over at the house, And we had got my mom's place ready, and we were working on ours now, but we still had 2 foot of drywall cut up. You could see through the walls, and cement floors and everything and all that deal. And he's saying, David, I'm so sorry you had to go through this. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, all of this. And he's pointing around the house, I'm like, man, when's the last time people came knocked on your door and said, you need anything? Hey, we got some food. You need some food? Hey, we got cleaning supplies. You need cleaning supplies? Hey, we got a couple people willing to do some labor. You need some help? When's the last time that happened at your house? It's happened almost every day for 90 days at my house at that time,
Bless.
and to see that on the other side, I want to be the server.
Yeah. Right.
But I have a hard time sometimes allowing myself to be the served. Can you relate to that?
I can completely relate. I struggle greatly with that. And God brought that to the center of my life. About maybe 4 months ago, I was involved in a freak accident and broke my shoulder blade. And I, from a guy that's pretty active, I lead a pretty active life. I own a business, have 2, I call them children, but my kids are 17 and 19.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of stuff. I'm involved in stuff. And I went from, 190 miles an hour to 0. Couldn't do anything. Literally couldn't do anything. And people needed to take care of me. And that was a really foreign feeling to me. And it was difficult to accept.
Right.
It humbled me greatly because I've always cared for people. I love caring for people. And that I had to be cared for. And it was really challenging, but it taught me great lessons. I'm back to 190, maybe 195 miles an hour now. So I need to ease up again. But God told me, you have to stop. If you don't listen, I'm going to stop you. And he stopped me, and so many blessings from that experience, something that was terrible. It was tragic.
It's, I think when we get into service, a lot of times people get into service off of a change of life of some kind. My service career started, my service lifestyle started when I got sober, back in 1988, right? Came out of the hospital and they told me, if you want to stay alive, you need to help others, get out of yourself and help others, and so that's what I did, because I had finally decided I wanted to stay alive. And doing that, but it can also become kind of its own, I'm going to serve because it makes me feel good. I love the fact that every time you talk about serving, you talk about bringing it to others, sharing the love, that they are still the focus of the service. And I think that's a huge importance,
At times I feel selfish because I know how much my heart feeds and thrives from that, but it's never, I don't intend to do it for me. I really don't.
Right.
I do it, because again, God's blessed me in so many ways that I'm a pay it forward kind of guy. And, I could never, my kids ask, Dad, when you retire, you're going to go to work for Catholic Charities? And, I really think I will, I don't
Right.
ever want to stop doing things. And, once my kids are through college and I can maybe breathe a minute. Definitely. Cause I do, I enjoy working with Catholic Charities and I enjoy my faith. And again, what God's done for me, can never pay him back. I don't know, we didn't see it that way, but I'm hard-headed, I see it that way. I want to pay him back.
I don't think it's a horrible position to allow yourself to feel.
Yeah.
Understand it's not necessary, right?
Right.
But so it's sorry about that. Excuse the pause. I think when we're serving, we get into that. One of the things I like to do is make sure that I'm asking the person that I'm serving, let them talk about themselves. I do things sometimes with people that are, and this isn't, again, I know you're not here to pat yourself on the back, and I'm not saying this because of that, but I think it's good experience to share, with homeless people or people that just can't afford a car to get a ride. I'll pick up, give them rides and stuff and everything. But it's amazing how just somebody in a situation that's alone, especially, just saying, hey, how you doing? what's going on with you? And then just letting them go, and seeing the appreciation of just somebody doing it. And like you say, yeah, I've started to count on some of that good feeling, but I also do try very hard to, all right, Holy Spirit, this is yours.
Right.
I'm just acting in the way I think you want
Just
me
a
to,
vessel. Yeah.
and doing it. So, but,
Absolutely.
so, you said you're a dad. So how has fatherhood profited you, that experience of having kids and kids growing and look, I know there is as much agony and pain as they are. For me anyway, the being a dad is something I would never even consider trading in.
Being a dad is the number one. Being a good dad is the number one thing in my life. I mean, it's as important to me as any other. My faith is certainly number one because that's the only way I could do any of the other stuff. And I've realized that being a good dad, it's certainly not easy. Um, but it's so rewarding, and some of the things that you can't imagine, um, just the love and the warmth that some challenges bring, and so my kids are awesome, son and a daughter. um, you know they're both incredible kids. My daughter's not so much on service, but she does some. She just doesn't like to sweat. My son is on service projects with me often. I was tarping roofs after Hurricane Delta, and my he just turned 19. So at 18 years old, you got your own life and living with me. But so I'm on a roof in North Lafayette on a Saturday morning, and I'm with about 10 people. And I happened to see this truck drive in front of that house. It was about 9 in the morning. And for an 18-year-old kid, that's pretty early. And I'm looking, it looks like my son's truck. And he goes down the road and he turns around at the block and he pulls in. Look, and he gets out. I was like, hey, dude, what's up? And he said, Dad, I went to get donuts this morning. I looked on Life 360 to see where you were. And I knew what you were doing. So I came, I want to help you today. And out of the blue, this dude just rolls up and we ended up tarping about 15 roofs. That was just what a reward for me, to see him, and he saw it through me. And I want to be that role model. I just don't want to talk about it. I want to do it, but not talk about it. But I saw it. I saw it for the hurricane, for Delta. Catholic Charities asked me to man the shelter at the Hyman Center, and I'd never done anything like that before. I'm a hands-on kind of fella. And so my daughter came with me and we worked for about 6 hours, and it was mostly homeless men. There were a couple of families that were brought in the middle of the night, and she was amazing. So she has it. She just doesn't realize it. And kind of like what you just said, these men have never felt love, at least that what I can tell. And we were serving them. We got them food, we got them drinks, cots, blankets, and they were blown away, and you treated them with respect and love, and they left different than they came in. I'm sure life brought them back to where they were, but while we were there, to see that change was just incredible. And it was a little intimidating at first for my daughter, but she fell into it as well. And it was a really cool, unique experience for me because I'd never done that, and that was a different way of serving. And that was cool.
That's man, that for me, that is the actively open to the Holy Spirit, right? Is you got the call, and I'm not the guy that thinks that we should always say yes as an immediate response, right? But if we're prayerful, if we're thinking about it and whatever, it's usually not a hard decision on whether or not we should say yes. Sometimes it's a hard decision if I will say yes, but it's not, and it's amazing to me because, there's been so many times I've been asked, I'm working on a thing at church that I said I would never do.
Mhm.
And that morning I got up and I told my wife, I said, this COVID thing is coming, where people are starting to get back together. I miss being involved. We need to get involved with something. 20 minutes later, my phone rings and they asked me to do this thing that I said I would never do. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
I get it.
I'm going to do it.
I get it.
And I'm doing it. And the things I thought I would not like about it, I don't like about it. But the things I'm getting out of it by being of service, even though there are some things that aren't my forte.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what, David? You're uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. So what?
That's exactly right. And that's when it really gets exciting to me.
Right.
You don't want to be uncomfortable, but when you do get there and you see how it turns out, like, dang, that was awesome. That dude, that God's smart. Man, it's smart.
I read and listened to a lot of John Maxwell stuff, and he talks about, everything we want is outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right. Everything we want that we don't have is outside of your comfort zone. Yeah. So if you're not willing to be uncomfortable,
how do you achieve? Yeah. I mean, that's growth, to me. And I don't know if I ever want to grow up. I want to keep growing. I just want to keep growing.
Well, I think as you were talking, I think it's beautiful. You said, we talked about learning having a servant's heart from your father, and doing that, and that being the primary role model. That obviously your mom was part of that as well. It seems to me that the other thing you learned was having your kids involved in who you are helps form them to be who they are. And I think that's a beautiful testament to fatherhood.
Yeah. It's so important. And to me, to teach by doing and not by saying, is a much better lesson, I find. I've always, I learned by doing things, not so much by hearing about them. So if I can show my kids and show anybody else how rewarding things can be in life, that I struggle with like getting other people to serve with me, and it was eating at me, because I was so fortunate to be able to serve and felt blessed to serve, that I wanted people to feel it,
Yeah,
and
right.
sometimes I would we would do a Saturday a month. It was called Serve Saturday through Catholic Charities. Some days we would get 4 people, or maybe a great day was 6. And a lot of days it was just me and another guy, and the 3 ladies that work for Catholic Charities or AmeriCorps volunteers. And this past Monday, Memorial Day, I was provided the opportunity to serve a lady. She flooded in 2016. She flooded in 2019. She lost her husband to cancer 18 months ago, her mom to COVID 6 months ago, and flooded on May 17th. And when it was brought to my attention, she's a public servant. She works for the state government, and really didn't know where to turn. And so my friend that told me about it, he was going to try to get business people to donate money to hire a professional to go gut her house and muck it out. I said, you can't do that. She's a public servant. It can be seen as a bribe, and all these can be misconstrued. I said, give me a minute, give me a day. And so I reached out to Holy Cross, to St. Pius, to Cathedral, to St. Thomas More. And on Monday, we had 25 men and women.
Right.
Showing this lady the love. I met her on Tuesday before, and on Monday, it was God's army. And she had worked. I'd asked her, just take it easy. After I met her, take it easy. God's coming. And so when I saw her that morning, we had Judy's and hamburgers donated by Linda Judice and Gerald Judice. We had Gary Wilkerson donated Sonic breakfast. I went to Best Stop that morning just to get some Buddha as a down home snack. And I see the guy's bracelet. I didn't know him. And he was one of the owners. He's outside sweeping up in the parking lot when I drive up. And I got a Roman Catholic Diocese of Lafayette trailer I'm pulling. And so he walks in and says, hey, where y'all going today? And I looked and I see
Fishers of Men bracelet. Yeah.
And I said, hey, man, I like your bracelet. And I'd already ordered my Buddha. I had my card in my hand, getting ready to pay. And so I told him what was going on. And so, I'm giving you the Buddha. I said, oh, no, I'm not asking for So we donated the Buddha. Had another guy owns a company that has dehumidifiers. He brought dehumidifiers there. It was just amazing. The lady, overwhelmed is not even close to describing what she felt. And we prayed with her in the end, and everybody there was smiling, and we did something in 4 hours that she didn't have anybody to help her. It would have taken her months. Her house would have been full of mold. And so COVID, as you mentioned, people started to want to get out and do things, and that was a testament to all of these men and women. That was just incredible. It was just incredible. And so we're all of those times I was frustrated. I was just impatient because it was on my timetable. God, I talked to priest about it. I was frustrated. And so just keep being gentle. Keep being gentle. It's coming. And then Monday was like, wow. And I just prayers of thanksgiving, because he put it all together for us. And we evangelized without attempting to evangelize. Everybody in that neighborhood saw what we were doing, and saw the Roman Catholic trailer in the front.
Well, the whole St. Francis thing, right? Whether he really said it or not, they attribute him to preach the gospel every day, and when necessary, use words.
Right. We lived it.
Yeah.
We lived it on Monday.
I think that's beautiful. I love that you still have that emotion about it. Just the idea that you made a couple of phone calls and an army showed up.
An army.
Right. Just beautiful.
I was blown away. And when I just started keeping a list on my phone, I was like, wow, what a reward, for all of us.
I could do this. Well, we've done it. Every time we run into each other, we talk so much. So I could do this a long time, but I want to ask you one more question. How does this servant philosophy, this servant's heart, how does that go into your work life, your day-to-day life? Because I know there are a lot of men out there that struggle with everything's segregated. They think they wear multiple caps. I like to see it more as I got one cap. It's got a lot of beaks. Yeah. Sometimes it looks better this way, that way, that way, to how I turn it, right? And do it. But for me, that's the cap, right? And I think for you too, that's the cap itself. So no matter which way we turn it, that still has to be there. So how do you take that into your work life?
I go into my business with the goal of trying to help people. It has to come with an invoice, because I have people that work with me that we all have obligations. So we need salaries. I have insurance that I'm required to pay. I got electricity. So I got you got to do it. But I always try to treat people fair. Invariably, at least once or twice a year, someone crosses my path that needs my service. They have no way to provide for it. They have no money. So we, and my sisters, it's a family business, and so we donate our services. I do a lot of stuff for the diocese when they acquire properties and different things like that, and we rarely charge for that. But it's just trying to give back a little. We support UL geologists and engineers for their masters, their thesis, just to give a little back, to kind of serve our community. People need stuff in all kinds of ways. You just don't know. It doesn't always seem like it fits in that box. So there's all sorts of ways to I think, give back, again, or pay forward. So those are some of the things we do in business. And again, try to lead by example, whatever that task is, do it in a way that makes God smile. At the end of the day, I'm hoping that it says, well done,
It's funny. I love how you say that with kind of it is what it is. This is just what we do, right? Attitude. But like I said, I know there are a lot of guys that struggle with, even things like integrity. Well, it's fine to have integrity with your friends and at your home life and everything else, but business is, it's the sharks, right? And I can't live that way. And I know there are a lot of us that can't. There are more of us that can't than it shows, because most people that live that life, like they're too busy living that life to go out to be shutting people down on Facebook or whatever, trying to tell it's like, man,
I've
I don't
never
have
been on
time for that.
Facebook. I'm proud to say I've never been on Facebook. So I
Don't
wouldn't
start.
know. I won't. Oh, I can tell you that is one thing I'm taking to the grave. I've never been on Facebook. So yeah. And my dad my dad was a public servant. He worked for government. So when we started our business in 1995, we were literally fish out of water.
Right.
So I'm trying to compromise between business and service every day in my business, because I think I was born to be a servant. God, if you can recognize where you fit, you know how to apply it. And God gives us all talents and blessings that we know how to tap them and harness them. Man, we could do some good stuff. And if everybody does their little part, just a little part, pay it forward in the drive-through line at a restaurant, in a drive-through, and I'm going to pay for the guy behind me. I'm like, what? So I paid for the guy behind me. One lady, a young lady, almost brought her. She said, "I love when you do this," and she, not me, but with people,
Right.
because it starts something that it might last for 20 or 30 cars.
Right.
And it was just a little tiny token, of doing something nice.
And somebody might ask, well, then what did it save them? It's not about what it saved them. It's about
it
gave them the thought to give.
Yes.
And they got probably more out of saying I'm paying for that guy than they did that you paid for them.
Right.
Right.
And some of them were, it was $25. I didn't realize, but here, I'm paying for it.
It might cost them more.
It might cost them more money.
Right.
And what an awesome deal.
What an awesome
so
deal.
Those kind of things are those random acts of kindness. If you can make somebody smile, that's a pretty good thing. There's a lot in life that can make us frown or cry.
Well, I think if somebody's not sure where to start, that's exactly the place to start. Random acts of kindness.
Right.
Just do it.
Simple.
What's it going to hurt you?
I teach my kids that their whole life,
And if somebody, if you open the door for a lady and she says, I can get that, say, well, good. Say a prayer for her and pray for her husband.
Have a great day. Exactly. Because that's
like,
going to soften somebody's heart.
Yeah.
That is good. May not soften everybody's heart, but it's going to soften somebody's heart.
Yeah. So, look, man, again, I could go on and on. We're coming to the end here. I want to thank you so much for doing this, brother. And I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm always excited when I see you.
Thank
and
you, David.
Let's keep it up.
I feel the same way. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to everybody out there. This is David Wooten with the Profiting from Your Passion podcast. And we'll see y'all on the next one.